coming into the launch of iOS 14.5, one of the big concerns from UA advertisers was that SKAdNetwork doesn't provide nearly as much data as they were used to, in the past, in what you call the MMP world. We know that's still the case, right? And I'm curious, how is the UA world reacting to the lack of data right now? It sounds like maybe it's going to be okay.
Well, good question. I think early days still, while the basic UA metrics look good to decent, depending on who you ask. I think the LTV measurement still is completely broken. The data just looks absolutely wonky and out there. And part of the reason for that is, advertisers are still trying to figure out how to use the conversion value set that Apple's SKAdNetwork framework, allows. There's different modules. I mean, all the MMPs have done a really good job of setting up a conversion modeling framework on top of the conversion values, set up. And it is helping advertisers standardize the way they think about post-install metrics and lifetime value metrics. It is in no good way a substitute for what they were able to do on the MMP side. The MMP side has substantial amount of tracking, a very deep understanding of the funnel. They can no longer do that meaningfully. But the conversion value setup and a conversion modeling on top of that, it is beginning to help advertisers do more with what the framework allows. And so while it's early days and the data looks really wonky, I am actually optimistic that the industry will continue to evolve, and we'll have very good measurement models built on top of what is, by all means, a limited way to look at the overall funnel of how the users behave. In my opinion, that is where actually the business of a mobile game or a mobile developer makes or breaks, or is made or broken. And so it remains the highest focus area for the entire ecosystem for the foreseeable future. As I was saying, the initial data still looks a little wonky. Like, we're still trying to figure out what it means. Some of it looks too good to be true. Some of it looks really, really bad or invisible. Like, it's just not that simple yet to track what is going on. And so over the next few weeks, we're hoping that a better picture will emerge. On the other side of this whole equation, though, I think the users do get a substantial amount of choice in how they get tracked, if they do consent to get tracked. And that is something that as an ecosystem, we should support, right? And so while there is a loss of data, I don't also want to come across as lamenting the fact that we can no longer track users as closely as we used to. There's still a ton of contextual signals. There's still a decent amount of data that will be leveraged better and better over a period of time. And even though it won't be perfect, we can get to an 80-20 point over a period of time. I'm not saying we know how. I'm just kind of placing my belief in the technology and the the data science capability of the mobile industry and the app ecosystem in general. And that's something we've seen. It has come through over and over, right? Like, we've seen a lot of proof points of that over a long period of time. There's one area around this data sufficiency side that I am worried about, which is the flip side of this whole thing. It is that Apple forces a privacy threshold on all kinds of data, whether it's conversion postbacks, post-install conversion values. All kinds of stuff is governed by a privacy threshold, and so Apple doesn't begin to share data unless a certain number of users that are statistically significant and can't be really traced back as an individual user in any meaningful way. Until that threshold is hit, you don't actually see any data. And the challenge is, if you're a small publisher or a small developer, you may not see any data at any point, right? Because you just don't hit those thresholds, in any, you just don't hit those thresholds to, begin to see that data. That creates a lot of optimization challenges. For example, small developers will have to figure out new ways to do this end to end. There's no micro-segmentation possible on their apps. On the other side of the same equation, the ad networks and the DSPs and just the ad ecosystem in general, we will not be able to optimize for small publisher inventory in the same way as we used to in UA campaigns that we've run in the past. And so, there will be a need to aggregate some of that into a single bucket, which reduces the fidelity of how the whole thing is done. So yeah, in some ways, the data limitations are going to hurt not just the developers themselves. They will acutely hurt small developers, in my opinion, and they will continue to need the ad ecosystem to evolve how we look at data. But obviously, on the other side, I'm as a user and as a user of an iPhone and the iOS ecosystem, I'm generally glad that I don't have to I don't let every app track me in a deep way. It will be something that is reserved to a certain set of apps, and I think that's a meaningfully good tool for an individual user to have.